that you're going to find peace is in 1 and 2. If you want to try to prove me wrong, please read the Bible this year all the way through. But how you and I position ourselves now will determine our outcome at the end of 2017. Creation, the beginning of what we know of life. Genesis is known as the book of the beginning. The beginning, the essence of the manual. Within any manual, you will see, if you pay attention, the vision, the purpose of what's before you. From a manual. That desk or bicycle you assembled for Christmas this year included a manual and a picture of what it should look like once it's assembled. Have you ever tried to put something together without looking at the manual and find out something kind of went a little bit wrong, or you had some extra pieces? Because I did that back in the day when my son, BJ, he was growing up, man, I had a whole lot of extra screws and bolts, and I'm like, my wife's like, well, how did you get all these extras? I said, I guess they just threw in a lot of extras. Because I was done. I mean, he got the wheels on it, right? Now, all of a sudden, he riding and started, shaking a little bit. She said, now I know where those screws are supposed to go. I even got a clock, Deacon Joe, this week for Christmas. I got a clock. Didn't need to assemble it. All I needed to do was pull it out, undo the wires, and plug it in. And it began to change all kind of colors. Like a mood, like a mood ring and all that kind of stuff back in the day. This light would just change colors. And I was trying to figure out how to set the time of the clock without looking at the manual. And do you know, I couldn't figure it out. With all the buttons, I couldn't figure out how to set the clock. I was holding what I normally would hold, and it wouldn't do anything. And then I just gave up. I just set the clock right there. It was plugging, it was doing all that light changing. My wife said, why haven't you set the time? I said, I think you need to take that back. I said, it ain't working, it's broke. I said, I told her, I said, it's broke. I said, I pushed the button that should allow you to, you hold this button down, the light should change, and you can change the clock, right? I mean, that's how other clocks work. I mean, Rolex do the same thing. What is this? Do you know, she pulled the manual out because it was in the box. I never even unfolded it. And within a few minutes, she set the clock. She said, we don't need to take that back. You just need to look at the manual. Genesis tells us in the first 2 chapters how we came to be and why. When people that you meet, when people that you hear are struggling on why are they here, who created them, when they're struggling, you can take them to the book of Genesis in the first 2 chapters and you get the answer. I don't care what else is written out there. Here's the answer. First 2 chapters. I ain't got to find it. What book is it? Genesis, the first book, the beginning. You'll find out how we were created. The first 2 chapters of your, as I told you, is the only place you will find where there's peace. But in the third chapter, you will find that man dropped the ball. Man, Adam, made the biggest mistake ever and failed in falling and failed in falling and failed in following God's instructions. The rest of the book we will read, study, deal with, and seek an understanding of why. You ever thought as you're working hard and it's kind of hard to make things really come together? You ever thought about when you're having trouble in your marriage and it seems like it's not working out? You ever thought about when there's things that seem to like just not be working out? Like, why did Adam do what he did? Why did that man just do what God told him to do? We wouldn't have this problem. We could be in the Garden of Eden. At least that's what we think. But Adam fell in the 3rd chapter. Genesis 1:1 says this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Not science. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Beloved, not only did God create our universe, you will see God as you read and study this book as the Redeemer. You will see him as the Redeemer of humankind. God shows us he is an innovator, an entrepreneur, and even at times a maverick. I need us to understand that God is the ultimate leader.
That's right.
Thus, he creates leaders. I want you to understand that God is showing me, and he gave me this, he said, let's get back to the basic. Let's get back. It's 2017 now. We trying to have all these little fancy words of, listen, let's just get back to the basics. Because if we get back to the basics, we're probably going to save ourselves a whole lot of time and trouble. Adam and Eve were created in his image. In his image. We all came from Adam and Eve. We all came from God. So we created his image. Look at Genesis 1. 1 and 26 and the 27th verse. God gives the plan. Here's the manual. He gives the plan. He says, let us, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit were all there together. Let us make man in our image. Our image. According to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. 27th verse says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Now I'm going somewhere with this morning, because right in there's a whole lot of stuff. Church, getting back to the basics, I need you all to know and to remember this. You and I were created, we were designed to lead.
Come on.
We were designed to lead. In Genesis 3, we see a leader named Adam who fell in the area crucial to all leaders. Communication. Communication. I mean, if you're going to be a manager and you're going to have these employees that you oversee, you're going to have to know how to communicate to them to get the job done to the team. If you're going to be a leader in the church and you're going to have all these ministers that you got to oversee, guess what you're going to have to be able to do? You're going to have to be able to communicate to them so they can get the job done to the team.
Yes.
If you're going to be a drug dealer and lead all the drug dealers on the street, you're going to have to be able to communicate to them so they can get the job done. Doesn't matter what you lead. You were created to lead. But ultimately, we should be leading in the likeness of God.
That's right.
And we have to understand that you got to communicate correctly, clearly. Oh, it's got to be precise. Beloved, by failing to communicate effectively with his wife, Eve, Adam botched his role as the first spiritual leader of human race. People don't even want to put him in the book as a great leader. They don't even want to mention him as a leader. Why? Because he failed so miserably. And he failed kind of quickly. Many people go, well, you know, he seen that she was naked and that got to mess him up. No. You got to be able to lead if you naked or clothed. You got to be able to lead if you sleep or if you're awake. You got to be able to lead if you're sick or if you're well. You got to be able to lead if you're busy or if you're not busy. God clearly told Adam that a certain tree was off limits. If you look at Genesis 2:16 and 17, he told him this. On every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die.